What took you there? You know, that you're actually, and talk a little bit more about like what your work is that has to do with the awakening in the intersubjective field and why that's important.
Yeah, first of all, I think that our culture is based on this. We human beings are not, we can go into retreat, and for some people this might be very beneficial for some time or for a lifetime maybe.
Yeah.
But for most of the people that co-create culture, it's not. For most of the people, it's the studying and the practicing and the togetherness in the marketplace or on the marketplace. And so now when we are here, this co-creates culture. And if we are talking about the spiritual impact on culture, we need to look at our interpersonal and intersubjective field.
Right.
And then it becomes very interesting, because then we see how the evolutionary impulse is driving into the future, and the structure of human consciousness pulls like an anti-gravity or a gravitation back down.
Totally.
So, and then there is a tension, the evolutionary tension. And within this, we see how shadow aspects are crucial if we don't address them. So we need, I think, for a healthy spiritual path, we need a transcendental practice, but we also need the intersubjective and interpersonal shadow work, so that we can establish healthy relations. Because everything we look at, institutions, companies, all intimate relationship, so many things in our culture rely on this. So if we want to have a transformation there, we need to look at this. And we need to see that this is God in action. Relationship is God in action. And so the more we are open, the more we are aware of our shadow aspects, how we project them into the world, the more, as I call it, transparent communication, the more I'm aware of the information that is there, because there's so much more information every moment happening than most of the people perceive. All our past, all our future is here right now.
And all the potentials and
right.
everything.
Right. And if I'm aware of this, it changes my communication. It changes in who I see in you and who you see in me. It changes if we relate to symptoms or origins. So most of the communication is connected to symptoms of reality and not to the origins. And the mystical teachings, they are just interested in the origins of the symptoms. So that we don't waste time talking about symptoms, which doesn't lead anywhere, because life stays as it is. Transformational it becomes if I can follow the symptoms back to the origin. And then our communication is about this. So much stuff is argued and about things that are not the point. And if we do this, we waste a lot of time. I often say, if you go into a conversation with somebody, and you go out from the conversation with a lower energy than how you went into the conversation, then you missed something.
Yeah, totally.
You haven't been aware of what's happening. And so a lot of energy is wasted in companies. If you see in the communication what's wasted, and this everything is creative energy that we can use differently. And the same is now if we apply this to a bigger context, if we apply this into a transnational, in a more global understanding. So then we see that nationalities, as we live them, don't make sense anymore. They are old. We need some much more global approach, local interest and local practice, but we need a global version of the planet. And the internet gives us the best platform for this, and our consciousness needs to become this. It cannot be that national interests block a global development. So we see that there is something outdated still running our lives, which is not anymore sensible. So, and there we are holding on to old habits.
Yeah, clearly. Do you see, like obviously quantum physics points to a different reality in who we are. You know, that we're not just billiard balls bumping into each other, learning how to communicate across the distance, because we're completely connected.
Right.
And so is part of what you're saying, and part of what I see is happening in the world is, we're creating webs, and, we're manifesting a way to actually experience the interconnectedness and the mutual influence and the ways in which we're, do you feel that what you're teaching is also kind of helping people to experience that level of truth.
Right.
That we're not a thing.
Right. And that's exactly it, that we on one level we could say we're a particle in reality, and on another level we're a field. Every one of us is a field of interconnected relationships.
Yeah.
So this is not something that you can locate on one point, but the field of interconnectedness, so if the center, which is every person is also a center of a big spider web, and if the center changes, if the level of consciousness changes, if shadow aspects integrate, the field needs to change around. So a lot of my work is built upon this field and built upon how to perceive the information that's anyway here, but often it runs outside of our filter system so that I cannot see it.
Right.
But what happens if I become more present, if I become more aware, and if I learn that basically you are radiating the whole information to your life, to me, and into the room right now. If I know how to look at you, I can basically see every part of who you are and relate to it much more intimate than if I see you as the outside of myself.
Right.
And so the interconnectedness gets transcended. Interconnectedness is in a way the next level of the I consciousness. So that we have built a physical, an emotional, a mental I structure, a crystallization. But now I think the collective consciousness at least is jumping or wants to jump in another level which I call a new we or a higher we. That the individual needs to open itself into another space that we can realize, all of us, and be part of this other space and still be unique as this individuality, but we all tap into this other space. And
Simultaneously.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And this other space is more transcendental. This other space contains us as persons, but it's bigger than that. Right. And if we all share this new perspective, we are much more intelligent as a species.
Right.
You know, we are much more intelligent as a human family, because less creative potential gets wasted in interpersonal conflicts.
Right.
And
yeah.
we have more creativity, which is intelligent.